narudi nyumbani. I'm going home. I'm going home.
Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to Home Healing of My Emotions by Hadassah, where we fix what home broke and we believe that healing is possible. On today's episode, we are going to tackle a soul care strategy. We'll come up with a strategy that will help us to tend for our souls. The way we also have regimen and routines for other things, to take care of other things externally. Then we are going to come up with a strategy on how to take care of our souls. This is what my mentor says. He says that people do not suffer from lack of information but application. So under this segment, under this episode, we are actually going to discuss practical ways in which we can implement in our lives and see the difference emotionally and generally in our lives. I have a statement that is good and bad at the same time. The pain we have experienced in the past cannot be undone. That is, it happened, it's a bygone, it's water under the bridge, it cannot be undone. We cannot turn back to our parents or our spouses or our partners or the people who have hurt us and tell them, give me back my joy, give me back my peace. That is done, it cannot be undone. However, offense in the future cannot be avoided. Ooh, the pain that we have experienced in the past, that is not the only pain that we will ever experience. Why? Because we are imperfect. So we can also contribute to our pain. We can make decisions that are self-sabotaging, that are not productive, and that affect us and even affect the people around us. So because of that human weakness, it can also lead to pain. And then we live with people who might not be responsible of their decisions, and as the result of the decisions they make, they also affect us and they cause pain to us. And then the last bit is that life can happen without the influence of anybody. Let's say a hurricane takes place. That is a natural occurrence that can bring about pain that was unanticipated, that was not expected, and that was not influenced by anyone. So the pain that you have experienced in the past is not the only pain. We are also going to experience pain in future, and that is not being pessimist in any way. It is being logical and reasonable, because we are also weak as human beings and we have the propensity to make mistakes, and we are also predisposed to the unhealthy decisions of other people. So this last episode, we are coming up with a strategy that is going to help us to deal with the pain that will be caused in the past. An important thing is that you do not wait for rain to come so that you can build an ark. You prepare beforehand, so that when the rain comes, you are prepared. This is what my mentor says. He says it is making decisions before making decisions. So on this channel, we are actually creating a plan. We are making a decision that is going to safeguard us, protect us in the future in case pain happens in our lives. And for us to thrive, and for these practical steps that I'm going to share with us, they are very simple. They come from spiritual, and they are based on Bible principles, and they are very practical if implemented properly. I heard a preacher say that some people do not experience the fullness of their religion because they do not work it out right. Prayer works, but prayer works if it is worked out right. So even these principles, if you do not if we do not apply them appropriately, then we'll be saying therapy does not work, but you did not apply it the way it was supposed to be applied. So I pray, it's my hope and prayer that we will be consistent and that we'll be very judicious in how we implement this strategy. So the first part of these principles to care for the soul is to examine the soul and identify the wound, and we have already done that. The exercise that we engaged in was somewhat meant to bring to the surface the wound and the area in our lives that has holes and that is bleeding and that needs attention. After you have examined the soul and you have identified the wound, expose the feelings of the soul. That is equal to pushing out poison out of a wound. And one of the ways that you can expose the feelings is to verbalize them. Spiritual leaders in the Bible, the ones who were successful, were the ones who were very honest. For example, Elijah, when he felt discouraged, he said it. And we can read it in the Bible where he felt like he was the only faithful prophet that was existing. However, it does not mean that every feeling we say we have to expose it. No. But what we are saying is that we need to expose that feeling. Denise Boggs says, I have mentioned her before, she runs a retreat center. It's called Living Waters Ministries. You can look it up. She says that feelings buried alive do not die. And here I'd like to speak to my Christians, my friends, my Christian friends, who we believe that if we pray more, if we read the Bible more, if we engage in these religious activities, then somehow the pain can go. It cannot go unless it is healed, because suppression is not healing. Suppression is not equals to deliverance. It just means that you have not gotten a trigger. We know people who just push things, and you assume that just because it is not hurting, it is not there. It only means that you've not been exposed to a trigger, and then everything else comes up. So suppression does not bring healing, deliverance does. We need, and engaging in a soul care strategy does bring the healing. So it's important we expose the feelings of the soul. How do we feel? Do a soul check. David did this. In his Psalms, he's always accounting of how lonely he felt, of how desolate he felt. He was journaling. That was the version of today's journaling. He wrote it down. He did a soul check. And that is important, that every morning or every day you can do a soul check where you ask yourself, how am I feeling today? How is my heart? Am I positive? Do I have faith? Do I feel like I can believe in God? Am I feeling overwhelmed? Am I feeling tired? And then after we have examined the soul, we need to examine the feeling. After exposing the feeling, we need to examine that feeling. What we feel might be real, but is it right? We are not saying you judge that feeling. Yeah, we are not saying, we are not concluding that an apple tree is a bad tree, but we are just saying, is the apple for me? We're just examining, because the apple could be good to someone else, but it is not good for you. You're not judging it. You're just examining it. You're asking yourself, is this thing that I'm angry about worth the reaction that I'm giving? Because if we overfocus on an overreaction, then it means we are only dealing with the fruit. And we can spend the rest of our years dealing with the fruit, yet we have an opportunity to deal with the root and cut that tree once and for all. So, examining the soul, identify the wound, expose the feeling, talk about it, verbalize it, write it down, and then examine the feeling. understand whether whatever you are feeling unhappy or upset about is worth it. Is it that big? Is it that impactful? And then the fourth thing is to identify the perceived loss. This happens mostly in relationships. It could be platonic, romantic, work relationships. Sometimes you might feel like you are losing someone, but then when you actually analyze and do an accurate examination of that relationship, you realize it wasn't even a value addition to you at all. It was even more of a liability than an asset. So if you ask yourself, was this person adding value to me? How did they impact my life? Was I the only one who was there for them and they were never there for me? Did they ever keep their word? Did they betray me? Was I being attached to them because of a dysfunction I had? And if you answer those questions as a yes, then that wasn't a loss. It was actually a blessing. It is possible for someone to have toxic emotions that are actually not a real loss. You feel so bad that you are losing someone you've had a long history with, but they were not healthy for you. So because of the history, you tolerate and entertain toxicity because you're feeling that you are about to lose something. But if you accurately and reasonably look at it, you realize that that was a perceived loss. It was actually a blessing. God was actually blessing you. He was taking a liability out of your life. So you identify whether that is a perceived loss. And then if it was actually a loss, because there are times we lose situations, we lose opportunities, we lose people that their absence or their loss was catastrophic in our lives. If now you identify that it is an actual loss, then what you need to do, you need to expose the lies. So when you have actually lost something legitimately, then you need to expose the lies. Because what happens when we go through something, the enemy, the devil, will give us a meaning and a story. I heard a preacher say that it is not what happens to you that bothers you, it is the story you tell yourself. And if we experience a loss, either relationally, spiritually, materially, then the enemy will give us a story. He will give us a meaning for what has happened to us. He will tell us, this happened to you, so this is what it means. And so if it was a relationship, an engagement, a marriage that did not end up well, then the enemy will tell you, you will never find someone else, no one else will ever love you, you will end up lonely, and it is over for you. Those are lies from the enemy. It is not the truth. And we need to expose those lies because we know that God is able to turn things around. You got to be positive. You got to know when it is the devil speaking and the lies that he is trying to feed you. Because if the enemy tries to tell us that it is over for us, then it means God is not sovereign. And we know that he is the one who has the last say. After we have exposed the lies, after we have identified the narrative and the story that the devil wants us to believe, then the last thing is to apply the truth. You cannot apply a truth that you do not know. You know, God cannot pull out of us what we have not put in. And that is why it's important to engage in spiritual disciplines. It's important to read widely. It's important to listen to people who are versed in areas that you are struggling with so that you can be able to apply the truth. And the biggest of them all is the scripture. because the Bible gives us the ammunition of information that we need to disarm the arm of lies, so that when the devil tells you that you have lost days, you can tell him, I know that my God restores. You can confidently and boldly tell him, God is able to open one big door in my life that makes up for all the doors that I have missed. You are able to tell the devil that this is not how I was meant to live. I can experience peace, I can experience joy, because that is a promise that God has promised to give me. So I believe with those few principles that I have shared, if we accurately, appropriately, and consistently apply them into our lives, then they will give us a milestone into achieving a quality emotional life that we all thrive to have, because our emotional life affects our spirituality, it affects our relationships with people, and we were never meant to live by ourselves. We need people, we need a community, and if this area is not well monitored, then it can sabotage our relationships. And I keep saying relationships don't necessarily have to be platonic. They don't have to be romantic. They can be platonic. They can be work relationships. They can be mentoring and coaching relationships. And if we have mastered the art of taking our souls, taking care of our souls, then it's going to give us a milestone in how we interact with people, build healthy relationships, and also govern and lead our lives properly, because we're going to be emotionally intelligent. So I hope this helped. I hope that this was practical. I hope it was simple yet so significant in your life. And I pray that God gives us the grace to do the inner work. It is not easy. Some people have lived in pain for so long that it has come a part of them that they do not believe that they can get out of it. So I know healing is very difficult. It's about reconstruction. It's about bringing down walls and elevating, erecting new gates, because boundaries does not mean you build walls, but you build gates. It is difficult, it is work, but I'd like to let you know that your soul is worth fighting for. Your soul is worth fighting for. Your peace is worth fighting for. Your joy is worth fighting for, because these are things that give us inner stability. They are the things that cause us to be resilient, to be calm even amidst chaos, and to also have clarity of mind. And we are able to act on our decisions and to remain consistent. So I pray that God will give us the inspiration and also the strength to do the inner work, to partner with him, so that we can heal ourselves, and we can open our hearts to him, that we may receive healing. We can do our part, but there are some people who are really broken and damaged, that it can only take one touch. It can only take a touch from the Lord to fix that heart and to mend it. But the Bible promises us that he binds the brokenhearted. He heals the brokenhearted, and he binds up their wounds. And this is a promise we have. And because God is a promise keeper, he is going to heal us. He's willing to partner with us so that we can experience a heaven on earth. Until next time, bye. Please remember to subscribe, remember to like this video, and also to share this content with other people, so that we can build and raise a generation that is healed, that is not passing down traumas, a generation that is intentional about their well-being, a generation that does not just care about self-care, which is outside and which is mostly masked up, but they are also concerned about their inner soul and caring for their hearts. So God bless you. Bye.